Hello, and you are listening to The Professional Artist. I am Echo Chernik, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, simulcast on YouTube and Facebook. Please like, follow, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And I'm actually not. I am actually in Seattle, north of Seattle. I'm in Bellingham, Washington. I have a gallery in up here for any of you that ever get a chance to travel up this way. I have a gallery in Fairhaven, Washington, and that's where I usually do my broadcasts from. And today I'm going to be talking about the business of illustration. Last week we had guests on. We had Bob Eggleton and April Solomon, and we were who are wonderful guests. And we were talking about the business as well. Bob has been in the business for a long time, and April has been in the business for a while as well. And she's actually been in the family business. Her father has been in the business for her whole life, so she's learned a lot about it. And she's right in the cutting edge, and I that's why I wanted to do this channel so that we can, really keep with the cutting edge of what's going on and use um, really use what the knowledge that those of us that have been in this industry for a long time have, and keep it current with those that are, right on the edge of it, and really, keep that knowledge, going, and keep it fresh and keep discussing it. And I got a question from Troll Smith last week, so I appreciated that. So that's really what I really liked getting. I really like getting questions on the channel, so keep those questions going. And Trill Smith had a question about something that Bob asked. Bob had said and I agreed with him that he liked taking jobs that sometimes didn't pay as much, that what they paid didn't necessarily matter as much all the time to him, that wasn't necessarily the big motivating factor for why he didn't take a job. And Troll Smith said, that sounds an awful lot like taking a job for exposure. And that was an awesome question, because we didn't really address that, why you shouldn't take a job for exposure. And that's a super important thing to talk about. And I really want to talk about that today. So before I get to the big, taking a job for exposure thing, I'm going to talk about define exactly what Bob was saying, and it's going to lead me into talking a little bit about the pricing in the industry and how that works. And versus other industries, pricing in the illustration industry is a little bit flexible, because it's not like a set pricing structure. When you're pricing art, it's negotiable. It's a little bit of an art in itself. So what Bob meant, and what I do as well, is that when we take a job for an illustration job, somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, I want you to do a poster for." He was talking specifically about, I think the Lovecraft Film Society, the film festival, and they're an awesome festival, by the way. They're in Massachusetts, and I'm sorry, Portland, the Lovecraft Film Festival, and they do. I've met them years ago at conventions that I've gone to. They're an awesome bunch of people, and they do it because they love it. They love the works of H.P. Lovecraft, and they're a great group. And if you ever get a chance to go see that, you definitely should, and look them up. But they do it because they love it. So they obviously are a group of artists and a group of, you know, enthusiasts that love film. So they obviously don't have a giant budget. They're not Miller or Camel or anything. So they don't have a big budget. So they can't normally afford Bob Eggleston or myself or anyone else. And so therefore, they have to be cautious with their budget, which is why it's a great pleasure and honor for them to get someone like Bob. So why would Bob take a job for a small fish like them? Well, there's reasons. Um, so anyway, I will get to those reasons now. we're artists, and hopefully you're artists as well, which means you're driven by more than just money. You're driven by the love of creating art. So the chance to make something awesome for, like, the Lovecraft Film Festival or something. I mean, that's cool. That's exciting. So you're looking at the chance to make this poster and you're thinking, yeah, that could be a really cool poster. And you're seeing more than, okay, they can't pay me a lot for that, but what else can I get out of that? Well, I've been wanting to make a cool poster in that style that I can pitch to this movie company that I've wanted to do some movies for a while. Ooh, and I wanted to do a book cover in that style, so I can pitch to that. I sort of wanted to do a portfolio piece in that style. So that would let me do a portfolio piece and I'd get paid for it. So therefore, you're doing a portfolio piece that you wanted to do anyway, but you're letting someone else pay for it. Now they're not paying you a lot, but they're paying you. So you're now doing a portfolio piece and you're getting paid for it. So that's a bonus. You're doing something you were going to do anyway, but you're getting money for it. And you are also doing a piece that is going to get out to the eyes of this crowd that is really excited about it because, for goodness sakes, they're getting Bob Eggleton to do this piece. So they are automatically over the moon excited because they're able to get, like, a god of illustration to do something for their little film festival. So they are just like agog. So, they're excited about it, and all their fans are going to be excited about it. So he is correct. They're going to get automatically, all their fans are going to pay a lot of attention to it, which means it's going to lead to more print sales from their fan base, which means he's going to get income from, their fans automatically. So that's another income stream. So he's automatically calculating in that income stream. And so that's being calculated into what he's figuring out he's going to get from this. So he's figuring he's going to get a portfolio pieces he wanted to do. Being a smaller company, they're not going to nitpick him to death on art direction. They're going to kind of let him do what he wants, which is cool. So he's going to end up with a nice piece. He knows that, which is in itself a pleasurable experience as an artist. So he's going to get a nice piece out of it, and he's going to get, overall, he's going to get a good piece, that he's going to get print sales. And you don't know where he doesn't know where it's going to lead. A bunch of people are going to see it, so he's doing it for it's going to come up not only out of his, he's coming also out of his marketing budget, is in a business terms. If you're gonna cut it down to like a business sense, he's going to be taking that money out of his marketing budget, whatever loss he's taking from it, because he's spending money out of his marketing budget. I guess if you were a business person, to think of whatever loss you'd be taking from it, because he's investing in himself in order to get more work in the future, and he knows that he will get more work from this piece in the future. I've done the same thing, like my Tosca poster. It didn't pay a tremendous amount. I did 3 posters for the Connecticut Opera. They paid okay. They didn't pay great. Ultimately, I did a post for Tosca, for Cenerentola, and for the Seraglio. They paid okay. I did a lot of work for them, and I mean, I did a lot of work on them, and they ended up going up for the Connecticut Opera. And then all of a sudden, my grandmother calls me up. This is a funny story, so I'm going to segue off of this for a second here to tell you this funny story. My grandmother calls me up, and I'm in Florida at the time, and she's in Connecticut where the opera is. And she calls me up, and she's like, "Oh, you're on the news," and I'm like, "I'm on the news. What are you talking about, Grandma?" And she's like, "You're on the news." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, your poster's on the news." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And she's like, "It's being stolen." And I'm like, "What? Whoa, what are you talking about?" And so I look, and sure enough, they're talking about the Great Tosca Caper. And in this, I kid you not, this is on my website. I have actually the clip of this. Apparently, they printed up 500 of these posters, and they put them all over Connecticut. Now, I mean, this is a small job. They only did like 500 of these, and they put them all over like Hartford, and people loved them so much because they were vintage Art Nouveau style posters that they started stealing them. That the actual local news was going down and filming the posters and talking about how people were stealing them off the walls and running away with them. And so I was like, whoa, all right, this is cool. So taking that as a marketing thing, I'm like, okay, all right, this is cool. This is a marketing lead. I called up my local news in Florida, and I was like, let's run with this. And I said, hey, look at this. The marketing people, the news in Connecticut is saying, look, they're stealing my posters. Would you like to do a story on this? And the news down in Florida went, well, that's kind of weird. Cool. And I'm like, I have the originals down here. Would you like to come do a story on me? And they went, sure. And they came to my studio and they did a big story on me, and they filmed me at my desk and with the posters, and they did a big news. I mean, if you get a story, you run with it. And so I was able to take that and spin it, and then we contacted the both of the radio stations, and were able to get the actual clips of the actual news clips. And so we were able to have them on the website. So if you go to my website, and I could put the links up, you can actually see the great Tosca caper and everything. And it ended up leading to a lot of opera posters and a lot of Art Nouveau work. And so, like Bob was saying, you don't know where things are going to lead. So I got a great amount of work from these posters that didn't pay a lot. But I knew, but I took them knowing that they were in an Art Nouveau style. They were the style I wanted to get. And I wasn't going to take a loss from taking these posters, and I wanted them for my portfolio. So I was like, yeah, I'll do them because they're in the style I want to promote. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to take something in the style that you don't want to do. So say somebody were to contact me and say, hey, do you want to take this little piddly job for doing a poster about gym equipment? I don't really want to do gym equipment, or, something I don't want to illustrate. Do you want to do this diagram of gym equipment? No, I don't. I don't really want to do more work in gym equipment. So, we want to pay you a really small rate to do gym equipment. I can't do anything with that. I can't get more work doing gym equipment. I can't sell prints of gym equipment. They're like, well, we'll put it up in our gym and people will like it. I'm like, that's not going to get me any more work. That's not a marketing strategy I can use. So that's not going to help me. So that doesn't work in my marketing scheme. So that's what Bob was talking about in terms of taking jobs that pay less, but that benefit him. In that case, if they, if this job that were, for instance, to hire me to do gym equipment, were to pay me, 5 times what the poster that for the Lovecraft Society were to pay, Bob, they paid me 5 times the amount, and it was a fair rate. And I didn't care if anybody ever saw it. That would be a fair rate. That's fine. I would be getting a fair rate of money. I would do my poster, and I didn't care if anybody saw it again, because that would be the fair rate. I would pay my bills. I would put it in my portfolio if it was a good poster. And if anybody wanted me to hire me to do gym equipment again or not, then great. That is, that's how you want to handle it. So you need to balance out the job based on that, based on what it's going to bring you, and how you're going to, if you need to promote yourself with it or not. If it's something you absolutely don't ever want to do again, make sure that you're getting paid appropriate for it. And if it's something you absolutely never, ever don't want to do again, don't put it in your portfolio. Don't ever show anybody you did it. In fact, preferably don't put your name on it. Just put it away and never speak of it again. Be like, oh, I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. In fact, just be like, no, you don't have to put my name on that. It's quite fine. Just don't mention it. Let's not talk about that again. So, because, sometimes you just do work that you don't care to do. That's not in your style. I've done lots of jobs that it's just not in my style, and I've done jobs that I've been hired to do that aren't my style, that I don't care that aren't my style. They've hired me to do that. They're like, can you do this style? Sure, I can do it. I mean, I've done Disney princesses in the actual Disney princess animation style. That's not what I'm known for. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to pursue. That's not really what I care to have a career in, but I got paid to do it. It's fine. It's great. It's work, but it's I don't promote myself with it because it's not what I do. Um, Subsequently, I also do a lot of work for the role-playing game Shadowrun. And that pays terribly because it's like in the gaming industry. And next week, I'll actually be talking about a lot of work I do for Shadowrun. However, I take the work for Shadowrun because I love Shadowrun. I've played Shadowrun since college. And there, like I said, you're an artist. You need to keep your artistic soul alive. I'll be at Gen Con next week. I'm a gamer. I've loved Shadowrun forever. If you do work for the gaming industry and you do work on a game that you love, you're probably doing it because you love it, not because they're making you rich. Um, I'm sorry, Catalyst. I love you, but you don't make me rich. I adore you guys. I mean, I adore your game. I love Shadowrun. You guys know this, but it does not pay the bills. But but everybody who works on Shadowrun or anything knows that, and you also know that I spend way more time on it than I should legally be allowed to, because it's a passion, and that's what keeps an artist going. It keeps an artist alive. I've been working on this dragon scroll, and I'll talk about that next week. And it's just it's exciting to work on something that you love. But you have to balance that with your other jobs that, as a business owner, that actually pay the bills as well. And it's okay to take jobs that you're excited about even if they don't pay well. But you just have to balance everything. You have to balance your business. You have to make sure that if you're going to take a job that doesn't pay as well, that you balance it with a job that pays enough to keep your family and your business, afloat. I actually make a tremendous amount more from the prints and everything else than I do get paid to do the work for the Shadowrun. I mean, I get paid for the work I do for Shadowrun, but I get paid way more on the prints and the drawings and everything I do than I do from print I get paid a lot more for print sales and everything else I do just directly for my fans than I do directly for the work. And I set it up on purpose that way. So you just have to strategize exactly. If you want to do something, you strategize. Okay, what do I want to do, and how can I do this and make it profitable? I want to draw this. How can I make it profitable? I want to do this style work. All right, how can I make it profitable? If you want to draw gym equipment, how can I make it profitable? You strategize it. So back to exposure. So yeah, it's different. So it sounds a lot like, what I was describing in terms of Bob getting his work out there for people to see it. That sounds like the definition of exposure, not the definition of exposure. That's more like the definition of self-promotion. Technically exposure, self-promotion is the same thing if you define it, but it's not in the art world. Exposure with a big capital E is not a pretty word. So somebody approaches you as an artist and they say, got this project for you. And this is not based on an actual person, living or dead, not a particular person or client. So if it sounds like a particular person I'm not describing anybody out there in particular. Okay, so don't take offense and don't get mad. This is just a fictional person based on a lot of people. So client contacts you and person contacts you and says, I have this, we're doing this book. It's a series of books. It's like 12 books, and it's going to be huge. It's fantastic. It's this epic series. It's going to be a series of movies, and we want you to be the face of it because we love your illustration style. And you're just going to be this. Your style is fantastic, and it's going to be the face of it. It's going to be these movies. It's going to be this TV show. It's going to be we want you to be the face of it. And they just tell you all these great things, and hype you up all about it, and then they're like, we're going to do a Kickstarter this fall, and and we're going to do for the first book, and I've been writing the first book for the last 7 years, and then these alarm bells start to kind of go off, and you're like, wait, what? And and so I can guarantee you're going to be, you're going to do all the covers for it, but because I've been writing it for the last 7 years, I can't pay you for the art, because I got to, like, pay myself for the writing the book for the last 7 years, because I've been just kind of doing this for free. So but once everybody sees your art, and once it takes off and it becomes a movie, I mean, you are just going to be like the person. I mean, everyone is going to like want your art, and you're going to be famous, and they're just going to be like throwing money at you, and everybody is going to know your art, and everybody is going to just want to hire you, and and you're just going to be like big in the industry. And I know this guy that like runs this film company, and he's going to want to hire you, and I know this other guy that knows this person, that they're going to want to hire you. And that's what's called exposure. They promising you that that you're going to do this work for free, and you're going to get like known, and you're going to get exposed. And so the joke is that you can die from exposure. So it used to be called like physical. I used to be an EMT, and I used to and if you got like, you get like, if you're out in the cold and you get like your body temperature drops and you go into shock, and you could die. That used to be called exposure before it was called shock. And you can die from shock. And that used to be called exposure, or exposure to the elements. And so the joke turns into you can die from exposure. So basically you can starve to death from exposure, from being basically not being, you can do jobs until you just don't get paid enough to do this. Don't do work for exposure. If you want to do a job that, if you're excited about doing a job that just sounds like, fantastic and beautiful for your portfolio, just do it for yourself, and you're not dealing under somebody else's guidelines. You should get paid for your work. Always get paid for your work. And don't do work for what's called spec either. Spec is where someone's like, I want you to do the work, and then I'll know it, and if I like it, I'll pay you. No, that's like the same as, all right, I'm going to go to the grocery store, and I'm going to buy all the food for my dinner and make the dinner. And if I like it, I'm going to go back to the grocery store and pay them if I like the food, if I like how the food tastes. No, that's not how that works. They need to pay you, if you do the work. Generally, especially smaller companies, they're tentative about that, and not necessarily because they're assholes. I mean, just especially if they have small budgets, they're just cautious because maybe they've been burned. I mean, you don't have to assume that it's just because they're jerks. Maybe they're jerks, but they just might be cautious. They probably have been burned. They might have had bad experiences. So what I do is I charge a third up front for sketches. And if they don't like the sketches, then they don't have to pay anymore. And that's called a kill fee. So basically, we do a round of sketches. And if they love the sketches, then good. We do the next third. And then after that third, if they love that, then they pay that third, and then we go to finish. And then they owe the last third. And then we're done with the contract. And after they pay that third, they have whatever licensing we agreed on, and we can talk about that in a bit. And that's all contractually agreed on, and you have to have everything in writing in contract. That's just so important to have everything contractually agreed upon. And that's a discussion we'll get to after. But yes, definitely don't do work for free. Have everything in writing, and have. And even if you just do sketches, say you're going to pay me this much to do to do some sketches, and then have them pay you that much, for sure. But yeah, don't do work for exposure. It's just not a good idea. There's other, and the good thing about this industry is that you can be creative with the way you get paid. That's the thing that people forget and don't, and don't think about. Now I'm not saying be creative with your taxes. Don't be creative with your taxes. Okay. I hire an accountant because don't mess with the IRS. It just, I'm not going there because, I don't be creative with your bookkeeping, or you just, I hire an accountant. I let them do all that because I don't want to get in trouble with that, because but you can be creative with how you structure your, with how you bill things, um, and how you work out budgets with companies, because different companies have different budgets. Not everybody has the same budget. I mean, if you're dealing with like Miller or Camel or a big company, they're going to have a much bigger budget than a small company is going to have, and you might want to work for a small company. I mean, an independent publisher is going to have an exciting book cover, just as exciting as like Random House, and you might want to do that book cover, and you're like, oh gosh, I really want to do that, but their budget is so small. How can we work this out? And in that case, licensing and barter and all kinds of things are your friend, because you just need to negotiate, and you just need to negotiate creatively. Because I've worked on a lot of great things with independent publishers who's like, I don't have a lot of money, but I've been working on this book, and I really want to do it, but I just don't have a lot of cash. I just happen to own this um, seafood company. Oh, I like seafood. Negotiate. You can barter's your friend. No, just for tax purposes, barter is taxable. So you do have to declare that to your accountant that you're bartering, and everything, so they can write that off. But there is other ways to negotiate besides just pure cash, that you can get, that you can still get what you're worth without just pure money worth, which is, it just, you just have to be creative about it. Even this guy, who maybe wants you to work for exposure. I mean, there are a lot of people who want you to work for exposure who are just like abusers, so you be careful about them. There's a lot of companies out there, who want to hold what do you call it, contests and stuff, who want you to work for exposure, or people that come around that like they want you to work for free, that are that want you to do it, that are jerks and stuff. But I try to keep my mind on a positive bent, because there's too much negativity out there nowadays. So I always try to remind myself to not be negative, because it's harder and harder, but I always try to not, and remind myself that some people just don't know any better, that this person's, maybe this person's just sort of been working on their dream project in their little bubble, and they just don't know any better. And I'm going to circle back to that in just a second, because I was thinking about that earlier, and I happen to have a very like problem solving mind. Uh, um, so I was actually solving this problem in my head earlier, while I was thinking about what I was going to say to you guys earlier. Um, but one of the things I was thinking about, how artists need to negotiate, and that is hard for some artists, because negotiating is a big part of being an artist, and talking numbers. Talking numbers is difficult because a lot of artists anyway, carry, uh, we all have that terrible beast of, like, that self-worth doubt problem, is that we enjoy being artists. I mean, we enjoy what we do, and and if you have fun doing what you love, then you question, like, oh geez, why would somebody want to pay me for doing what I love? And then it comes to question, like, you have a problem asking people to pay you to do that, and you start to devalue yourself, and then you start to say, oh, I feel guilty wanting to ask them to pay me to do what I love, if geez. And some artists struggle with that more than others. And you can be the most awesome artist in the world. And I've met some really awesome artists, and they really struggle to ask people for money or to value themselves. I mean, I struggle to value myself sometimes. I'm always pricing myself too low. And in that case, it really helps to have somebody to sometimes, mark your work higher or to bounce numbers off of. Um, I have Lazarus who's always marking my work, higher than I'm like, oh, you're gonna mark that up. Oh, ooh. And he's always he marks up prices in my gallery all the time, and I go, oh, really? And then they sell, and I go, oh yeah, okay. And I think all artists that I know do that because we're like, but it was fun. Is and I think a lot of artists do that. But I would suggest to any commercial artists, you pick up the Graphic Artists Guild Guide to Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. That's the Graphic Artists Guild, GAG, Guide to Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. Graphic Artists Guild, GAG, Guide to Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. And if you go to the GAG's website, you can find the book. And it's awesome. First of all, it gives you a ton of all the contracts you ever need to look at, gives you all of the resources for all of the technical terms you ever need. But it also, number one, gives you a list of the pricing for every year that is suggested for what you should price yourself at. And if anything, it's a good baseline to see what you should be pricing things at, because it explains pretty much everything you need to know in terms of how big is the market you're selling yourself to. Is this a book cover for a small company? Is it an independent book publisher? Is it Hasbro? Is it Random House? Is it a what sort of licensing are they looking for? It lets you kind of like go through the charts and figure out how big is this project? Who are they selling it to? What kind of range is everybody else pricing their projects at? Where should I be, sort of? It's a lot easier now than it used to be. I remember when I first started, on the going on the internet and just googling, like, I don't even know if it was Googling at the time. It was pre-Googling, whatever that was. What should I charge? I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea what to charge, which is kind of why I started this channel, because I was like, I don't even know who to ask. No clue, just no idea. So finally, I got my hand on this book, and I was like, oh my God. And I looked at these numbers. I was like, oh my God, these are huge. Oh, we can't charge this much. Who charges this much? Oh my God. And after a few years, I found I was charging that much. And I was like, oh my God, I'm charging this much. And I was like, whoa, I'm a professional. And it was fantastic. And now I was like, oh, these numbers are kind of low, actually. And that's when I started actually filling out the survey that, helps people figure out what they should be charging, which you should do if you're a professional. And it's good because you at least can point to the book and be like, I'm following these numbers to help you figure out, what you should be charging. But if you're an artist and you really, really, really struggle to talk about numbers, then it's good to have somebody else that can help you to negotiate, because it's hard if you struggle with anxiety, but you're an awesome artist. If you have a significant other, a lot of artists have significant others that do those things for them. If you don't have a significant other, I don't know if you have, a partner you can get to do somebody, to work with to do that. A lot of people have artist reps to do that. The problem with that is that you usually can't get an artist rep until you don't need one. I have an artist rep in New York, and they're fantastic. They do all the negotiating for me. That's Mendela, and I can trust them completely. I don't even ask them what they charge half the time. I mean, what they're getting for the job. I'm like, yeah, I trust them completely because they do a great job, because they know the market, they know the industry. I just say, okay, yeah, that sounds great. They do all the paperwork, they do all the negotiations. If there's any problems with the client, I can just call them up and they handle it. They do all the, all the tough stuff, which is great, especially if you have a problem talking to clients, or if you have any sort of social anxieties, which is a lot of the job. And it's just a lot, that's hard for a lot of artists. So, But again, if you struggle with that as an artist, you have to deal with that, or you have to find somebody to help you with the negotiation part. Otherwise, you're going to struggle to make a living as an artist. Which brings me back to my problem solving part with the guy with the this isn't necessarily the best solution, but this is just what I was thinking of earlier because like I said, I'm a bit of a problem solver. I was thinking of the of our buddy here with the person the our writer our theoretical writer that I came up with that approached you theoretically to get you to try to do the work for free, who was all extroverted and was like, hey, you want to do this for free, you want to do this for free, you want to do this for exposure, and you're like, no, I can't do this for exposure. And then I my in my artistic problem solving mind, I was thinking of partnerships, and I was thinking, this you need to sometimes problem solve problems, and I'm the type of person that reaches out to other creatives and makes partnerships. So if you got along with like somebody like this, I would be like, hey, you're a super extroverted type of person. There's no reason if you can't get a rep, because like I said, you don't necessarily get a rep until you need a rep, that you can't pair with somebody like an author. And this is for you authors out there that can't afford good artists for your books, but might, be more extroverted, because a lot of authors are actually pretty extroverted people, but can't afford artists or accountants or other people that are more extroverted, but can't, that you guys could pair up and work together. I've paired up with a lot of different people to get things done. You might, that anyway. What I'm saying is that you can get a different person to be a rep for you, to do negotiations, to be your representative, to help you to negotiate numbers, and to be your in between, to be your representative. Sometimes it helps to have somebody in between to just, like for instance, if you were to say, hey, person that want me to do the book cover for you, if you were to act as my rep and you were to help me with some of these negotiations, and be my in between, and just be and talk to my clients for me, and negotiate as a rep. And then you go in between with my person, and you work out a working relationship. And then over time, they help land you some work just by negotiating and stuff, as a and you guys work together as a that way. Then ultimately, they help you, and then you're able to do some work with them and get and you're able to basically do some work on their cover. They're not taking advantage of you anymore, but they're not paying you out of their pocket. If they're able to help negotiate and bring you more money just by being able to be their extroverted self, and say land you higher amounts of money, and you say, figure out my rep takes 25% of what they land me. So if they were able to increase the amount of money that they were able to land you on jobs, and you calculate what 25% of that would be, and apply that towards what they were towards their balance of their illustration project, and then you were to illustrate their books, that wouldn't come out of their pocket. So they would be getting their job, but they would be doing it for free for them anymore, and yet it wouldn't be coming out of their pocket. You have to be What I'm saying is that then they wouldn't be paying out of pocket. You would be getting more money for your jobs. You wouldn't be having to be scared talking to clients, and they would be happy, you would be happy, nobody's being abused. And that I negotiate stuff like this all the time. I've worked with accountants like this. I've gotten back in the early days of needing websites, when I first started off my career. um, Lazarus and I were starting off at the very beginning of our career. We happened to be starting off doing website design, and this was in the days when like the web was like super ugly, and we were like we were lucky because we were both knew understand programming and we could make the web pretty, and so we were like really valued assets. And so anytime we needed anything done, we're like, "Ooh, we need dental work done. Let's see, let's find a dentist that does not have a website. Okay, you do not have a website." And we'd call them up and be like, "Hello, do you need a website?" And we would we would just trade for websites. Do you need a website? Let's get our teeth done. Do you need an accountant? Do you need a website? Let's get our teeth done. And we would just, and this is how we did so much stuff, because it's so much easier for a creative to do things that way. And so I've learned to make partnerships with so many other creatives, by just talking to them. I am the Bob was also saying last week that people don't accept cold calls anymore. I'm like the queen of cold calling. I will email people out of the blue and be like, "Hey, you know, are you interested in doing this together?" And like I tell my kids, the worst they're going to say is no, or just ignore you, or be like, "Are you a crazy lunatic person?" Maybe I'm a crazy lunatic person, whatever. But I am always up for partnering with other creatives and just at least talking about it. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can help each other out, because let's build a barn. I mean, I guess I was just raised that way. Maybe it's a Gen X thing. I don't know, but I just it's like, when creatives band together, we can do so many more cool things. So you just have I don't know. I guess I kind of rambled off in a sort of different direction from exposure there for working from exposure. But and what I'm saying is that you can you don't have to follow society's rules completely, except for taxes. File your taxes, please. Just do that correctly. Don't get audited, because I don't even want to go down that road. That terrifies me. I just don't mess with the IRS. But work. I don't know. I'm all about finding new opportunities and just seeing what can be made, what can be done, what can we do together, how can we do this to create new things? How can we help each other to make life a little easier? I mean, we have skills. How can we use our skills to make things a little easier, rather than just working to just make money and then paying somebody else? Because we don't have to use our skills that way necessarily in our business. We all have different business. We all have different skills where we can use them to make to create, to just make things easier. So anyway, so that's sort of what Bob was saying, but with a whole load of segue sauce. But yeah, that's how I've survived 30 years of being a professional illustrator. uh, a whole side load of segue creative sauce. Um, I don't see any questions coming my way. You're probably all just sitting there going, "What is she going on about?" But uh, I don't see any questions. So either you've all fallen asleep or you've all left. But anyway, but what else? Let's see. So yeah, so let's see. So just yeah, don't work on spec. Um, what to charge? I'll get into licensing and all that another day. I don't want to get into that too heavy today. I mean, there's different aspects of what to charge in terms of licensing um and negotiation and contracts and stuff, and I'll tackle that another day, and on this channel. Definitely be sure to go onto my YouTube channel and hit me up with any questions in terms of business aspects. But you don't sell yourself short, for sure. I mean, your art is definitely worth it. Just always make sure that you're feeling you're getting what you're worth. Um, but remember, it can be money wise, or it can be other things too. It has to be you feeling like you're getting what you're worth, whether or not it's just pure cash, or it's other goods, or it's sustainable soul wise as well, or it can be an investment in yourself for the future. Sometimes a lot of times I will actually invest. I will actually ask for prints or goods if they're if I know they're going to be making product. I'll be like, hey, I want to have a couple cases of whatever you're making. If you're making candy bars with my product, can you make, can I get 10 cases of candy bars? Can I get 20 cases of wine? Can I get, so many bookcases of books? Can I get, things I can sell in my shop because I have a gift shop now. So I know that can I get 20 cases of these puzzles that you're printing if they have a low budget? Because it actually costs them a lot less to make and give me puzzles than it does to give me more cash. Because it costs them more to pay. It costs them more to pay me more than it is to give me puzzles, because the puzzles or whatever they're printing will cost them much, much, much less than to pay me more cash. Because they cost, whatever the product is costs them less usually. Um, Printed samples of things. When I made card decks, I got cases and cases of card decks. I also got the big flat sheets of cards because you can make special editions with the big flat sheets that are all like the uncut sheets, and then you can sell those as flat, as big flat sheets. And those are like special editions, and those will sell separately, which is cool because then you can make more off of those. Think about what you can sell to collectors. Uh, think about what might want to keep. Always keep copies of everything because you never know what you want to keep for later. You never know what you want to keep for an investment because it might be worth more down the line. If you did, for instance, if you had worked on magic at the beginning and you wanted to keep, if you kept some of those early magic cards, they might be worth quite a bit right now. I didn't get into magic early on. Um, I didn't get into magic early on because I was working digitally. And at the time when all my contemporaries were getting into magic, they weren't accepting digital artists. So all my friends were getting into doing magic cards and they were like, nope, no digital artists. And I was like, ugh. So that's why I missed that boat. So I just never get into that boat. I don't know if things would have been different if I got into magic, but I got into Shadowrun instead. And, that's just my path went that way. So, which is fine. And but yeah. So I want to see any questions for anything. I'm going to be at Gen Con next week. I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to pre-record next week's thing because I'll be talking about the big dragon scroll that I worked on, which is going to be at Gen Con, which is going to be freaking amazing. Talk about a passion project. I put way too much work into that. It's really cool though, and you're gonna want to hear that one. It's just really, really, really cool. And we're at San Diego Comic Con this week. If you're down there, Laz is there with Kat currently. And I have a couple of the shows coming up. I'm going to be at Salt Lake City Comic Con, and I'm going to be at I don't know, a couple of other places. I don't remember what else I'm going to be. Oh, Dragon Con. Going to be at Dragon Con. I also have my Maya Kickstarter is going to be wrapping up pretty soon, and that's pretty exciting. That is my big project that is on Patreon. That is been my passion project for the last couple of years, and that's kind of cool. That's on Patreon. If you go to echochernik.com, you can get a link to the Patreon. It's $2.99 instead of 400 right now for just like another week or so, I think. It is a big, fancy, awesomely illustrated book, not AI generated. Oh my gosh, people ask me that, and it just crushes to the soul. I only made 1,000 of them, and there will only ever be 1,000 of them, and they are, so if you want one and it's signed and special and numbered and with drawings and stuff, please, if you want to support an artist, go check it out. And there's also a art book that goes with that too, so check that out. And you can also pick up a copy or a pre-order at Gen Con too. And what else? What else? What else? And yes, I think that's it. And I'll read my outro here. Thank you for joining me. I'm Echo Chernik, and you've been listening to The Professional Artist live on the United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM in New Orleans, even though I'm in Bellingham. And thank you. Thank you again for joining me. And again, I won't be live next week, but I will have a lot of really cool information to share. So you want to listen to it because it's going to be pretty cool. And please ask questions on the YouTube because I want to be able to answer them so that I can provide all the support and information that I can about the industry and answer those questions for you so that we can all, you know, become better artists and support each other and make some awesome, great art together. So take care and keep making great things. So bye.